I love it when a plan comes together.
To which plan are you referring exactly?
This show, because you and I wanted to talk about this a day ago. And we get to talk about it today. Lots of things to say, man.
We couldn't get it all in day one. We had to spread out a little bit,
Spread out the love.
Save it for later.
That's right.
Wasn't that a song? Wasn't that an English beat song back in the day?
You want to save your love. That's what we'll do.
That's another, yeah.
Save
Shake
our
your love.
Shake your love. Yeah.
That wasn't that Debbie Gibson?
Debbie Gibson, that's right. Coming to a mall near you.
Wait, no, Tiffany. I thought Tiffany was the mall tour.
Tiffany's the mall tour. Debbie Gibson's the mall tour. I don't know. Either way, we might be at a mall sometime, Mace. Who knows? But we know we're at the mall that is Broncos Park, powered by Common Spirit. How about that? And we know that the second favorite target for Bo Nix could end up being a first-year player in Devon Vele.
Yeah, and you go back to the Seattle game, week 1. Of course, Devon Vele had 8 receptions that day. And then got injured. And then even after he was healthy, was inactive for a little bit. It was like, what's happened to Devon Vele? What became of Devon Vele? Well, you just had to be patient, because here we are sitting here now, and Vele has worked his way back up. And actually, Cease, on a per game basis, and obviously this includes week 1, Devon Vele, he's played 7 games, 26 receptions. He's actually right behind Courtland Sutton and ahead of Lil Jordan Humphrey in terms of receptions per game that he's played this year, working with Bo Nix.
I'm just glad that Javonte Williams isn't the second best receiving option on this team. Like, you're seeing the growth. We talked to Marvin Mims. We've talked to Devon Vele. These young receivers, they're, weekly basis, getting better and better, getting worked into the mix.
Mm-hmm. Well, isn't that what they should do with playing time? Getting better and better? I mean, I'd be worried if they were getting worse.
I'm just glad they're getting the opportunity. Because it's not just we're stuck on the veterans and the young guys can't break through. Specifically, Marvin Mims. I know we're going to start with Vele, but when we get to the Mims conversation, there's a lot of praise to be heaped upon him as a second-year player.
Not just heaped upon him. I mean, it took a while, but heaped upon the coaches for actually finding something that worked. I mean, you have somebody with the speed and quickness of Marvin Mims Jr. Just because he doesn't have all the branches on the route tree doesn't mean you don't find ways to use him. And that was the disappointing thing. It felt like earlier on in the season, they'd try to get in the ball once, and we'd sit there in the press box and say, well, that's Marvin's one target. That's his chance, right? And with scant opportunities, it seemed like the confidence began to erode a bit. It's not something to which he'll probably admit, but you can see the frustration. And Marvin Mims Jr. is the type of player who tends to wear his emotions on his sleeve. Well, now the last couple of games, by getting him involved out of the backfield, it's become completely different. This is a guy who has 20 touches so far this season, Cease, and 12 of them are in the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
12 touches in the last 2 weeks, 6 receptions, 6 rushing attempts. 6 rushing attempts for 21 yards. That's fine. Not great. 6 receptions for 62 yards. So it may not sound like much because you're talking about just over 10 yards a catch, but he's coming out of the backfield. So it's a different dynamic, a different expectation. And if you have a player coming out of the backfield who has 83 yards on 12 touches or 13 or 12 touches as he has the last couple of games, That's nearly 70 yards a touch. I mean, that's get him the ball more territory when he's in the backfield.
Yep. And it's something that Marvin's been pushing for, likely behind the scenes, but we know he's wanted to do more, Mace. We could tell that in training camp. We can tell it by his, just look of fire. Sean Payton likes that fire that Marvin Mims brings to the field. And I think it's in the Q&A, but he didn't mention anything about the Joker, right? So it's probably in our Q&A drop.
Let's actually play the whole Q&A here. I know we started with Vele, but we're on Mims now. Let's just play the Q&A that you and I have with him today. It's part of a question and answer session with the media. It's about 53 seconds or so. Marvin didn't really want to. He wasn't kind of in Mike McGlinchey expound territory. He just got right to the point.
Sean just kind of told me one morning that he had some packages for me out of the backfield, and that's pretty much how it came up.
When was the last time you did that before?
I did a little bit in college, for certain plays, but to this extent, it's the first time.
What's the kind of the process of like running a route out of the backfield when you have like that wheel route on Sunday compared to running it from the
Yeah, it's different just because, depending on the team, some teams have ends, some teams have edges, and then also just, kind of realizing if it's man or zone pretty quick, being from in there is kind of harder than being out there receiver.
Has Sean used the term Joker to describe
He didn't say anything, really. Okay. He just kind of lines me up at different places.
How excited were you to get that opportunity? Runner, receiver, returner, anything, man. You've been waiting to do this.
Yeah, it's been cool, just to be lined up at different places, using my talents to the best of my abilities. But, it's pretty fun. It's a lot of fun.
It's having fun.
And I think that's helping on the return end as well. I think if he has confidence building and energy building on offense, I think it translates to the returns. The last 2 weeks, Cease, Marvin Mims Jr., 85 yards on 4 punt returns. So he's averaging north of 21 yards a punt return in the last 2 games. So that he's getting back to where he was on punt returns last year as well, to the point where I think, and I asked him this later on, and he's excited about it, but I think they're very close to that breakthrough. That first touchdown on a punt return. He's got a touchdown on a kickoff return. He doesn't have a touchdown on a punt return in his career, believe it or not.
Yeah. Well, it's coming. It's coming. And it's good to see that he's been doing what they need him to do behind the scenes. Because when people asked us earlier, like, why isn't Marvin Mims playing more? The only answer is, okay, he's kind of buried on the depth chart, but they must wanted to have seen more. And then Sean Payton got the wild card, right? Like Chris Thomason run around there in the locker room. He got the wild hair of like, let's just line him up in the backfield and run wheel routes.
Well, here's another thing. I think we can also say Marvin Mims Jr. among receivers probably is not the best blocker. Okay. And if you block, you're going to play. Lil Jordan Humphrey is a terrific blocker as a wide receiver. Those wondering why Lil Jordan keeps playing, well, you got part of your answer with that touchdown late in Sunday's game. But a big part of the answer is he blocks. He blocks to a point where Devon Vele says he studies Lil Jordan for tips on how to be a better blocker. He sets an example in doing the dirty work of being a wide receiver. So if that's something that Marvin Mims Jr. can't do particularly well, take that out of the equation. Just say, fine, you're going to be in the backfield. You're going to be a runner. And the other thing that it does, of course, is it creates matchup problems, because usually when you talk about somebody coming out of the backfield, that's the responsibility of a linebacker. There isn't a linebacker in the game who can contain Marvin Mims Jr. in terms of the speed he brings out of the backfield. So what you may see teams start to do if they start accounting for Marvin Mims Jr. more, they might bring a safety up, which is well and good. But if you bring that safety up to try to help and provide some speed against Marvin Mims Jr., you know what? That safety is vacating an area on the back end, and all of a sudden you got more room downfield. And then when you see Bo Nix hitting Devon Vele downfield as he did, this is how the whole thing comes together. You create one set of problems, an opponent adapts to take advantage of it, but they make themselves weaker on the back end, and you can capitalize on that. It's the chess game of football that will give the Broncos more options going forward. And the fact that Bo Nix can read things quicker as he's continuing to grow in his game and how he diagnoses not only pre-snap but post-snap, he's going to have the answer to what the opponent shows him and what they choose to emphasize in coverage.
Sean's going to draw it up. Bo's going to execute it. Guys in front of him are going to block for him. And just look at how, I believe, Mace, correct me if I'm wrong, the pass block win rate is better than last year. Yes. Last year was 8, and I believe they're around 5. Last I checked. Again, I may be wrong, but it's like, why are they better in pass block win rate? Because Bo's getting rid of the ball. Because Bo knows where to go with the ball, and it's the declaration of influence. If you influence a defender one way, Bo's going to know where that space is at. They really do a good job of finding spacing for guys like Marvin Mims, and in multiple different ways. The Nate Atkins touchdown was beautiful, a different draw up on that sort of play, but one that works because you think it's going to the right. Like, you just watch the motion and watch the defense, and all of a sudden Bo just turns around, Nate Atkins wide open.
And a great job by Nate Atkins as well, because you've got to kind of sell it a little bit and get lost in the flow of the play. That, and the thing is, that's a concept that goes all the way back to Bill Walsh. That was something that he worked on back with the 49ers. West Coast acolytes. I remember Sam Weich in Tampa had that call as well and worked it, actually won a game with that same kind of call. You know, the tight end kind of just gets himself lost in the shuffle a little bit, delays the release, then takes off, and when it works perfectly and the receivers have pushed the safeties downfield, it creates that space, and you don't have to be a speed demon catching the ball in order to get some yardage after the catch and score. So it's part of the part of how play design is coming in. And, oh, by the way, Sean Payton can do a lot more in play design because Bo Nix is able to do a lot more in terms of reading defenses. This is what we talk about with the expanding menu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's expanding menu, and it's the preparation that Bo Nix is doing, and the chemistry with Devon Vele, man. We got a little more Mims, but we got Devon Vele stuff to get to as well, because it's been there since rookie mini camp. He's had that chemistry, and I'm glad they're not forcing things to Troy now. It'll come around, and it'll be there or it won't. But either way, when it's not working, don't keep going to it. When it is working like Vele, we'll just keep doing that, Mace, because that works.
Yeah. Keep mashing that button.
Yeah.
Eventually, there's going to be a deep shot that hits to Troy Franklin.
Sure.
It's been close so far, but you diagnose and you say, okay, why was this close? Why was this not working? You have to kind of walk that line between wanting to stick with something that you feel is going to work with time or moving on down the road and trying other things. And for Troy Franklin, it's not like he wasn't involved. It was just trying other ways to get him the ball. And that builds confidence. But for Devon Vele, there's a little more that he's capable of conceptually right now than Troy Franklin. And of course, the other thing with Devon Vele is this, with the playing time that he is getting now, this is fulfilling a little bit of the prophecy that goes back to when they decided to cut Tim Patrick. Mm-hmm. You made that move. There were a few things involved. One was the chances of him being back to what he was after missing 2 years. It's exceptionally rare that a player comes back from being absent for that long with 2 significant injuries to be something close to what he was. But then also you have Devon Vele sitting there who's made some terrific catches. Of course, that probably the catch of training camp there in that goal to go situation that we were all just gaga over when we saw it. And you start asking yourself, okay, if Devon Vele is getting these reps that Tim Patrick would have gotten, where is he? How much has he grown? Is he able to approximate Tim Patrick because he has made that progress and has started to blossom? Well, you know, it's a small sample size here, but you go through, you go through the last few weeks since he got back into the lineup, because of course he missed those 4 games after being in the season opener. And so he's played the last 6 games and he's got 18 catches for 243 yards in 6 games. So you do that, you do the math on that. That's 3 catches. That's 3 catches a game. And that is so 243 divided by 6. It's pretty, that's 40 yards a game. Mm-hmm. It may not sound like much, but take 40 and multiply it by 17 for a full season proration, right? Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, that's 680 yards over the course of a year. And for comparison's sake, that's more than a typical Josh Reynolds season.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. That's legitimate production. And that's what and so if it looks like that Devon Vele is getting you about 40 yards a game, which is what he's done since week 6, that'll do. That means he is becoming Tim Patrick.
Yep. Mike in the chat room says Vele replaced TP in training camp. In Sean's eyes, I think. Well, Vele was certainly outstanding from the jump, and you love seeing it. Now, I asked the question, and the chat room has asked it as well, Mason. We'll play some clips here from Vele, too. Mm-hmm. But let me find this comment, because it's exactly what you and I were talking about.
Well, real quick, though, I actually just went back and looked at Tim Patrick's per-game averages the last 2 full seasons he was a Bronco in yardage. 49.5 in 2020, 45.9 in 2021. And we're talking about Devon Vele in the last 6 games, averaging 40.5 yards per reception. So he's not quite there, but he's very much in the ballpark.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
That's what we're talking about with basically now here we are in the back half of the season. Devon Vele is Tim Patrick. And oh, by the way, younger. Not much younger because he was such an older rookie, but younger and 3 more years of team control.
Yeah.
On a rookie deal. Cheap.
We all love Tim Patrick, but you can replace Tim Patrick.
Yes, we do.
With
still
no
do.
Disrespect.
And I think there's a pretty good chance that in New Orleans come early February that you and I are going to be walking up to Tim Patrick on media night and doing an interview with him. Mm-hmm. I think there's a very good chance of that happening. It'd be a great story, and we'd be happy as heck for him. But sometimes these moves, they have to be made with a calculation, and a calculation went into this, a calculation of what Tim Patrick could still be, but what Devon Vele could be if he got that playing time and was given the chance to grow. All of that came into the equation when they decided to make the move to part ways with Tim Patrick.
Growing pains require pain, like tough decisions. Rebuilding requires, first you got to tear it down. And sometimes you really want to keep that one thing, but these young guys don't get the opportunity if you've got veterans in front of them that you love. But, I mean, it's a tough decision, and we're happy for Tim with Detroit.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned the tear it down. I mean, we may look at the Sean Payton era and realize that the 8 and 9 year was the tear down year, and what a record to have in a tear down year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And then build it back up. Now, Daniel in the chat room, this is what we talked about in the locker room today. When Sean was talking about getting talent around Bo, are there chances of that talent being developed rather than found? Everyone's talking about the NFL draft. Any mock draft that's way too early has the Broncos taking sometimes a running back, sometimes a tight end, sometimes a receiver.
Some tackles. I've seen tackle. Sorry to jump in. I have seen tackle jump into a couple mock drafts recently.
Right. So we'll see the Garett Bolles thing, how that works out. But you and I were talking, okay, I'm not saying they won't take a wide receiver, But who's to say Vele doesn't do more, or Mims doesn't do more, or maybe it hits with Franklin, right? So are we sure whenever a mock draft comes up with the Broncos, like, you sure about that? Are you sure about that?
The other thing also is you can easily bring Courtland Sutton back. Joe Lombardi was talking with some very nice praise for Courtland Sutton today. And he and Bo Nix are getting on the same page. And the thing you're seeing from Courtland Sutton is Bo Nix is using Court's superpower. Court's superpower is he can make a catch with no window whatsoever.
The window's the sky.
Yeah, like it's the defender can be draped all over him, and Court's going to have a very good chance to come down with the ball. And I keep thinking of what my mom said about that catch down the right side on Sunday, and thinking that Bo shouldn't have thrown that because that was a high risk play. And I said, well, it's high risk, but it's not high risk for Courtland Sutton because that's the kind of thing he does best. And it's actually really cool to see, like, you can see the way Court talks, the excitement that he has. It's like he has been
Reborn.
on a visit. He's been on a visit to the Fountain of Youth.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool. Actually, we've got this comment from Court on the young receivers. This is a good time, I think, to listen to what the veteran of the group has to say about all the young guys around him and how you can feel Court's excitement. We played the comment from him yesterday about Bo Nix. You can feel his excitement there. You can feel his excitement for the young guys that are in the room with him. Take a listen.
Watching Vele develop and watching Troy develop, I feel like from training camp to now, those guys have developed so much and have matured. And that's something that, I tell people all the time, that there's so much of a learning curve that you just have to get thrown into the fire to go experience. You can sit here and watch film all day. You can have these practices during training camp and everything. And yes, those are things that sharpen your iron. However, getting thrown into the fire in games is where you really get to sharpen your iron. And I think that those guys have taken on the challenge really well, and they continue to develop and continue to progress in, the professionalism that comes with playing this sport and playing this position. And, I mean, that's all you can ask for a guy that's, vetted in the room, seeing those young guys take control of their own destiny and be willing to learn and grow as much as they possibly can. And, man, the ceiling is beyond high for those guys, man. They got so much potential, and it's been a lot of fun watching them, grow into themselves. These past few weeks, I think that they've been having really good, games of doing what they're asked to do, and they're going to continue to get better. And I'm just excited to once again be a part of their journey as well.
There you go.
Yeah,
excited by that youth and energy.
Yeah, he talked about the ceiling, as Michael Jordan would say. I like to quote that. The ceiling is the roof.
Mm-hmm. Raise the roof if you're Sutton. And why not? I mean, we talk about why would Sutton leave? Well, ring chasing. The ring could be here next year. And I don't say that as hyperbole or I'm Mr. Exaggeration. If you follow the Lions' path, which is what we've talked about, the Lions rebuild year, then the next year they were 9-8. Then the next year they were in the NFC Championship game. And that had not been for Josh Reynolds, they would have been in the Super Bowl. So if that's the third year is next year. And if Bo's ahead of schedule, Mace, what is Bo next year at week 12? A top 5 quarterback in the league?
Well, eventually the improvement does plateau. I think we'll play a comment on either the Friday show or the Saturday show about Mike McGlinchey talking about in recent weeks, the growth of Bo has accelerated.
Yes.
He's in a growth spurt that you'd say, basically. It's not always going to be a spurt. And sometimes there's going to be some side steps or even steps back on the general path forward that you're hoping for. So I just want to keep the expectations reasonable for everyone watching Bo and the progress over the weeks, months, years to come. But you can allow yourself to think in those kinds of terms based on how everything is coming together. I will also caution this, respectfully to the NFC, it's a bit more difficult to navigate the AFC than the NFC because you've got Patrick Mahomes leading one team, Josh Allen leading one team, Lamar Jackson leading one team. I mean, Joe Burrow is objectively a fantastic passer, and the Bengals absorbing losses to some of those types of teams there at the top are sitting there 4-7 because they don't have the defense, enough defense to keep them afloat. If the Bengals had an average defense this year, what would they be? 8-3 right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Average, maybe not even average, maybe just a tick below average. They'd be 8-3. But it also that is a reminder of what kind of gauntlet exists in the American Football Conference that, respectfully, the NFC doesn't appear to exist. I didn't even mention C.J. Stroud in Houston. I mean, what do you have over there in the NFC right now? Jalen Hurts has certainly had a nice little bounce back from a trouble spot late last year. Looks like he's fine and dandy again. Jaden Daniels dealing with rib injury, but I think we can objectively say Jaden Daniels is going to be a very good quarterback in this league, assuming he can stay healthy.
Sure.
And then you're probably the next two guys you mentioned are Jared Goff and Jordan Love.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that they're not very good quarterbacks. I mean, I think Jared Goff may be in that elite tier again. Jordan Love isn't quite there yet. But the point being, you still look at the AFC and you see a lot of Godzillas. So that's the one thing why I would say I'm not sure everything can neatly parallel Detroit as we might hope. So that's just something to just bear in mind. The reality is the AFC is and will continue to be, for the foreseeable future, deeper than the NFC, and deeper in terms of quality that it has at the top. I mean, Detroit's the best team in the NFC. What would the NFC look like if you threw Buffalo over there, if you threw Baltimore over there, and Pittsburgh? I mean, they're doing it too this year. It's the AFC. It is a different challenge in the AFC. I said it before the season. I thought the Broncos, if you dropped them in the NFC, they'd be a playoff team. If you put them in the AFC, it's maybe a different conversation. If they manage to get that 7th seed in the AFC, I think it's a credit to them. But also, I think you probably would have to have a little bit of a tip of the cap to the Bengals having just a god-awful defense.
It's so bad.
They're so bad. How do you lose a game when your offense scores on every possession and never turns the ball over? It had never happened before the Bengals lost to Washington this year. That there shows how bad their defense is. That the offense literally scores on every possession, and sorry.
No win for you.
No win for you.
No soup for you.
I think I would have made a change at defensive coordinator right then and there if I were Zach Taylor.
Yeah. Would it not be for the frugality, I think, of the Bengals ownership? Zach Taylor would be in trouble. I've heard some rumblings. I talked to our guy James Palmer about it.
Yeah.
And then we both agreed, if the Bengals weren't cheap, the Zach Taylor would be on the hot seat.
Yeah, I think it's Lou Anarumo is gonna be sacrificed this year, I think. He, of course, is the defensive coordinator. You know what's interesting, though, about the Bengals? We talk about them being a little bit thrifty.
Nice way of putting it.
Thank you. Frugal. It's okay. Hey, I can be thrifty too.
Yeah.
But they do have a history of a long ago history of firing coaches. Even at midseason, they fired. They fired Tiger Johnson at midseason. They fired David Shula at midseason. They fired Bruce Coslett at midseason for Dick LeBeau. But that was the last one. That's been a minute. I believe Coslett for LeBeau was 2000. That's the last time they've done an in-season firing. Because the whole thing with Marvin Lewis is they let the contract expire.
Mm-hmm.
Marvin Lewis coached 2018 on the last year of a contract.
We just fixed the glitch. That's what that tells you.
So Marvin's not getting paid anymore. Hey, the Panthers did that with John Fox in 2020. It was the Foxy wasn't going to walk away from the last year of his contract. The late Jerry Richardson wanted him to resign, but didn't want to pay him didn't want to fire him because he didn't want to pay him not to work. So the 2010 season was a lost campaign for the Panthers at 2-14, with Foxy and Richardson basically like two kids in the playground trying to stare each other down.
Make it happen.
Things you don't have to worry about with the Broncos. Like, could you imagine if the Broncos had ownership that decided to run it back with Nathaniel Hackett?
No.
Instead, you had a coach that had more than 3 seasons left on his contract, and they paid him to go away after 15 games.
And they paid Russell Wilson to go away.
Yes. I mean, you've got cap implications there, but they'll eat money. They will eat money.
Mm-hmm.
It's the advantage of being cash flush.
Holy Diver says, I never know when these Wednesday or Thursday shows will start. Neither do we.
Neither do we. I mean, didn't I tell you today, we've been told 2:00 on the locker room?
Yeah, and so I hurried over. I actually left at 1:57 instead of 2, and buying myself some extra time. I get over there. You guys were already in the holding area, but I got in. Mm-hmm. Didn't have to jump the fence. Didn't get in trouble.
I really should have texted you and said, hey, at 2, because this is very inside baseball here. At 2 p.m., I was still sitting at my desk in the media room on the other side of the complex.
Oh, yeah.
We actually at that moment, we had just been called to gather at the elevator and go down and then walk around. So basically, because you got to walk around the practice fields and all that, that's a good, that's a 5 to 8 minute walk you end up doing, because it's not a small facility over there.
No, lots of stuff going on.
It's going to get bigger. Sure. Oh boy. When you see the excavation going on right now to build the new facility, I mean, that is going to be one huge building in terms of like sprawling, vast, not just the length of a football field, but the width of a football field. If you take the football field, flip it the other direction, it's like, it's going to be as wide. It's basically going to be as wide as the 2 practice fields together are right now. It's huge and multi-stories. And that's going to be the home of your Denver Broncos, at least on an everyday basis. I
love it. Yeah. Absolutely love it. Can't wait for it to be done so we can park over there. But anyway.
It's the end of the show just where we kind of air our grievances over the...
It's time for the airing of the grievances. Things. Yes.
Wait, let's see. The fest of the show will be the day after the Chargers game.
Okay.
Hopefully we're not airing grievances that day. Hopefully it's a win that we're talking about.
That's a game like Cincinnati, Indy, Chargers. I want to see. I want to see where they're at.
You got to take care of your business in these next 2 before the bye. Be sitting 8-5 at the bye. And then it's pucker time. Then it gets real.
Yeah, finish it.
Can you get 2 wins? If you get to 8-5, can you get two wins from that last 4 to make sure it's comfortable? That's what you're looking for, man.
You got a head start. You want to keep that head start.
Keep it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No letdown.
No let up. No let up. Oh, man. But it's exciting to talk about this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an exciting team. It's fun to watch.
This is legit. This is real. This team's got a chance to be playing deep into January. I mean, you got to love it. You got to love it, man.
Got to have it. Got to have it. That's for sure.
Got to have that playoff spot. That's what you got to have.
We're going to get sing-songy here, or what do you want to do? By the way, I'm drinking water. I want to make that clear.
I'm drinking Coke Zero.
Okay. I got the fancy glasses out, but.
Oh, aren't you? Well, you are elevated and fancy when you want to be.
I'll put the pinky out when I drink. That's fine.
I'll do the Dr. Evil thing.
Mm-hmm. $1 million.
A hefty ransom.
Armek says, once the video ends, Cecil's changing drinks. You'll be not surprised to know, Armek, I'm not done working yet. So once the video ends, I'll get back to work.
Oh, we got to get stuff ready for the Friday show. Like I got it. And I have to write an article tonight, and I got to get clips ready for the Friday show. I got to go through our Mike McGlinchey, Audric Estime interviews from today. So I got some work to do. Yeah.
Yeah. We're always on the grind for you. And we've really seen a ramp up in our subscribers because we've been asking and we've been just telling you the truth. And you guys have responded. That is big. And we appreciate it because Mason and I are always on the grind. Like,
help us make a little more money. Is that what we're saying?
Hey,
help us get that bonus.
People do super chats, right? There's plenty of super chat shows where it's like, hey, you want to support the show? So you can do this, right?
This doesn't cost you anything.
Doesn't cost you a thing. Doesn't cost you a thing. So yeah, we get a little Christmas bonus if we get to 16,000 subscribers. So
what do I see now? 15.4.
Yeah, about 600 left.
It's looking good. We're
come on, everybody.
We've picked up the pace, and we appreciate that. But let's get this thing over the goal line so we're relaxed and chilled, and chilling in December, knowing, hey, we got that bonus coming, man.
Yeah. So there you go.
But how do you do that?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
and hit that notification bell
so that you never miss a vid.
Yeah, we get a little slappy on this show. That's fine. That's totally fine. It is awesome and it is incredible. And love you in Nash Vegas. Why, thank you.
I appreciate you
and company. We appreciate you very, very, very much.
When is our next game trip to Nash Vegas? That would be 2028.
It'll be a minute.
Yeah. New stadium by then, probably, I think.
Let's put a pin in that one.
Yeah, depending on when they get the construction going on that. I like this. I like the Titan Stadium. I don't think they need a new stadium. That's my opinion.
Was it still going to be on the other side of the river?
Yeah, it's right there. It's supposed to be ready by 2027. I do think. I know one of the things they were kind of selling is that there was some structural work needed on the current Nissan Stadium. It's still going to be Nissan Stadium. Like, it's keeping the sponsor name, so it's being referred to as New Nissan Stadium.
New Nissan.
You know what? Nissans used to be called Datsuns, so why don't they just call the old stadium Datsun Stadium and the new stadium Nissan Stadium?
That'd be a throwback.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing. If you're below the age of like 45 or 50, you don't remember when it was You don't know what Datsun is.
Unless you collect cars, right? What,
Yes.
280Z, right? It wasn't Datsun 280ZX?
I think so.
Remember
I think
for-
I think the last reference to Datsun, anything in pop culture, was in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. When Steve Martin's character is at the rental car, he's like a bleeping Datsun, 4 bleeping wheels and a seat.
Ah, that's right.
I
the rotary
want
engine.
my bleeping car right bleeping now.
bleeping.
Yeah. Do you have your rental agreement? I threw it away. Oh boy.
I gotta throw that one on while we do our work. He is
It's
Andrew
a
Mason.
Thanksgiving movie. It's actually the right time of year for it.
So put it on, man.
There aren't many Thanksgiving movies. That's probably the best Thanksgiving movie, I would say, is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
It'll be up there.
Yep.
It'll be up there.
Also, Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, if you're going for the holiday special. Peppermint Patty is such a terrible person in that special. Just awful.
Yeah.
Invites herself over for Thanksgiving dinner. Gets mad when the dinner to which she invited herself doesn't meet her standards because, Charlie Brown's 9 years old? What's he going to put together? Of course it's going to be toast and popcorn and jelly beans and sundaes.
Right.
Of course, as we see, after everyone leaves, Snoopy pulls out a turkey and all that. And by the way, Snoopy pulls out a turkey for him and Woodstock to have. Okay? What is a bird doing eating a bird? That's sick.
It's cannibalism.
I mean, I know Woodstock's a canary or whatever, but I mean, does that disturb anybody else?
Did you just go Andy Rooney on me? You ever wonder?
Did you ever notice? Yeah. Did you ever notice that my eyebrows are the width of hockey pucks?
A lot of dated references in that ending, but
at least Andy Rooney was still he was still doing commentaries up to about 2011 when he retired and then he died very shortly after. He once made a statement, and I do identify with this. He said, "Writers don't retire." Maybe you're just writing something different, but you don't retire. Why did he keep doing it? He said, "Writers don't retire." And I kind of get that. If I'm lucky enough to have a long life like that, I don't see a point where I stop doing something. You don't turn the creativity off.
if it's there,
Yeah.
it's gonna be there.
Yep. So, but also you're writing about experiences, and you keep having experiences because your life changes and your life evolves, right? I mean, I'll write about, if I'm writing at 55, 65, 75, I'll be writing about different experiences than I'm writing about now because, the texture of life will be different. It's just the way it is. So anyway,
We're here to learn.
oh boy. I like, sometimes I like the end of the shows like this when it's just goofy,
Wow.
just pontificating here. I'll sit down. I'm going to do some work. I got a basketball game on right now. Life is good.
There we have it. Wait
Yep.
for airing of the grievances, though. We'll have some.
Oh, yeah. Especially if they lose that game. Especially if they lose some games that they're not supposed to lose between now and then. We might be airing the grievances over a potential playoff run gone wrong. Hopefully not, but stuff happens. It's the NFL. Surprises you.
Yep. And we'll get into it in Saturday's show. But all these 14-point wins that Bo Nix has, I'm predicting a Broncos win. I don't know if I'm predicting a 14-point win.
This Sunday, you mean?
Yes. So we'll tell you on the Saturday show.
Okay. I look forward to that with great interest.
He's Mace. I'm Cease. OBT's a BFD. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay tuned, and would you please stay frosty.